Many thanks for staying with us. Governor Umar Jubrila of Adamawa State has asked politicians to stop giving the crisis between herdsmen and farmers religious coloration. Governor Jubrila mentioned this while reacting to comments made by officials of the state chapter of the Nigeria Interreligious Agency.
Climate change is cited as one of the factors responsible for the latest clashes between herders and farmers in the country, as the herders move to the southern parts of the country in search of pasture. The overnight clash between farmers and herdsmen on November the 23rd, 2017 in Safari and Kodomti villages in Numan local government area of Adamawa State accounted for the death of about 27 people. Many other clashes have occurred after that. To stem this trend, Governor Umar Jubrila of Adamawa State is calling on politicians, religious leaders and the citizens to live in unity. The event was a meeting between the governor and officials of the state chapter of the Nigeria Interreligious Council in his office in Yola, the state capital.
Adamawa State, we are all one. There is no any difference in religion as far as this administration is concerned. And of course, we don't have any problem in terms of ethnicity. And this is the gospel that we've been trying to preach since we came into position, that we are all one, and Adamawa is first before everybody. And I'm also happy to report to you the committee that we have established to see the problems of the herdsmen and farmers has gave us the report, and we have already started implementing almost all the recommendations that was there in the report.
For the religious leader, cooperating with the government in order to achieve peace is the only option.
We have actually plans to visit all the local governments in Adamawa State from the month of May in order to meet with the different stakeholders. We are actually going to begin with all the local governments that have had crises in the past, and gradually we'll go around the 21 local governments in order to bring in the message of peace and coexistence between Christians and Muslims and other members of other faiths.
We have discussed at length about how to bring about a lasting peace in Adamawa State, particularly as it affects our the two religions, to say, because our fear is that the crisis in Adamawa State started as herders and farmers crisis, but later it has now metamorphosized into ethno-religious crisis, which each one of us know that it has nothing to do with religious.
The meeting is over, and the citizens will be hoping that the outcome of this forum will bring lasting peace, understanding and durable solutions to the incessant clashes that have claimed many lives and destroyed property worth millions of naira in the state.
Many state governments in Nigeria are yet to pass the bill prohibiting violence against persons into law, and the Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development believes this is responsible for the increase in violence against women. In this special report, our correspondent Kayla Megwa looks at the progress made so far.
Providing social amenities, putting an end to insurgency, and eliminating harmful cultural practices against women. These are some of the demands various women groups have made at several fora. One issue that bothers most women more than these demands are the increasing cases of violence against women. It becomes more worrisome that cases of violence against women are mostly unreported for fear of stigma or a lack of faith in the justice system.
When they don't press charges, at the end of the day, you discover that almost nearly every, maybe 50% of every case of domestic violence leads to death eventually, because they will kill them. If you cannot press charges at the early stage, if you cannot seek divorce at the early stage, if you cannot seek remedies at the early stage, it will eventually lead you to such a place where they might eventually kill you.
Domestic violence is a violation of fundamental human rights, which is guaranteed by the Nigerian Constitution. However, Section 55, subsection 1D of the Penal Code allows a man to flog his wife as a disciplinary measure.
The VAP did not repeal the penal code. So there's still these these lacunas that men can fall on to inflict violence on women. There's also the criminal code, which protects women and men generally, but I feel that the provisions in the criminal code do not protect women fully. So we still fall back on the VAP.
The Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act was passed by the National Assembly in 2015. The act addresses several forms of violence that include abuse, accessory before the fact, harassment, and harmful traditional practices, as well as emotional, verbal, and psychological abuse. The Act means that all laws dealing with violence under the criminal and penal codes have been superseded and are to be determined by a new set of guidelines. However, it is a federal law and can only be administered in the Federal Capital Territory and any state that domesticates it. As at March 2018, only Anambra, Ebonyi, and Oyo states have domesticated the act. The remaining 33 states are yet to.
In Abuja here, issues of violence have been taken care of. But now we are calling on the state governments to be able to pass this law into their own states.
The Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act cannot continue to remain just a piece of legislation. Advocates want the law to translate into real meaning for the lives of Nigerian women. Gender activists want the law to move from where women not only get justice to where our cultures and traditions undergo so much fundamental change that violent acts are detested by all. Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News.
The River State Governor, Nyesom Wike, is asking labor unions in the country to rise to the defense of the nation's democracy. He made this call during the groundbreaking of a tanker park sited in Eleme River State, the first of its kind in Nigeria. Our correspondent Emmanuel Ray reports that the event also coincided with the Nigeria Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers Delegates Conference.
The indiscriminate parking of tankers on the nation's major roads and highways, with its accompanying frustrating traffic situation and danger to other road users, remains a source of concern. As a way of tackling this menace, this wide expanse of land in Eleme River State has been earmarked for the construction of an international park for the members of the Nigerian Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers. The project is a collaborative effort of the union and the River State government.
I believe by the time this project is sited, it's going to bring development around this community. It's going to create job employment for the host communities as well. And it's going to also open up our roads in terms of trucks parking on the highways again will not be there.
The governor arrives and is saddled with the responsibility of laying the first brick for the project.
This will help where you have a lot of tankers, trailers, parking anyhow on the road, causing all kinds of inconveniences.
The day's event continues in this hall as various union leaders, government officials, traditional rulers, security operatives, and industry players gather for the 4th Nupeng Quadrennial Delegates Conference.
In course of this conference is to consider the effect of this fourth industrial revolution in relation to the workers in the workplace.
Governor Wike believes labor unions have a key role in safeguarding the nation's democracy.
As patriots and concerned Nigerians, we must all break our silence and protest against the atrocious and brutal system of the federal government that daily undermines our rights to democracy, the rule of law, and good governance.
While the state governor explains that technology is a way to go in achieving efficiency and productivity, he also thinks that labor unions should uphold the rule of law in their affairs. Emmanuel Ere, Channels Television News.
And SEC is about to implement a new code and has details on business news.
Thanks a lot, Melinda. And welcome to Business News. The Securities and Exchange Commission has reiterated that its code of corporate governance applies to all public companies in Nigeria. This was confirmed at a special orientation meeting for unlisted public securities in view of the amendments of the SEC code. In implementing the code and measuring compliance, the SEC requires all public companies to submit a corporate governance scorecard 1 month after the end of a calendar year, as well as quarterly financial statements within 1 month at the end of every quarter. The last requirement is the annual audited financial result, and it is expected to be filed within 3 months after the end of the financial year. A second review of the compliance with the code is due by the end of this month. Nigeria's sovereign sukuk worth 100 billion naira, which was offered in September last year, is set to be listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange and the FMDQ OTC, and that will happen next week. But ahead of this listings on Tuesday, an investment analyst with Lotus Capital, Mr. Ndako Minjidadi, sees the program paving a way for a price valuation of the security. He was speaking on our weekend program, Capital Market Today.
Sukuk was oversubscribed. We have about 5.87% in excess. What that means is that there are a lot of people who wanted to get into this instrument and were not able to get into it at the time that Sukuk was offered. So we have that demand that is already available to come into the market. Once the instrument is listed, the market will be able to price in that demand as well. And you know, the Sukuk, again, it's a 7-year instrument. There will be people that wouldn't want to stay for that long period because they will have liquidity requirements. Once the Sukuk is listed, those people have the opportunity to also sell down on the Sukuk, you know, and get out of the market. So it's fantastic for asset managers like ourselves. Once it's listed and there's a price that everybody can feed off from the market, it will enable us to have proper valuation for our portfolios. So I mean, I think it's a fantastic development. The FGN Sukuk has demonstrated, you know, the effectiveness of this instrument specifically for infrastructure development, and I think because of that, we expect to see a lot more issuers on the corporate side specifically, you know, who have real estate projects, you know, and things like that, expansion projects, who want to acquire equipment, you know, trying to tap into the Sukuk market.
And from there, let's check out how the equities market fared this week. The all-share index shared 1.60% to 40,841.14 points, with all major sector indices closing in the red. Despite this negative performance, total volume and value of trades on the exchange expanded, with notable closes and crosses and value stocks like Nigerian Brewers, Nestle, Zenith Bank and GT Bank. GT Bank and Zenith Bank with 2017 full-year dividends of 2 naira 40 kobo and 2 naira 45 kobo, and respective current yields of 5.4% and 8.9% are all expected to close their registers in the coming week. Traders and analysts maintain a positive outlook for risky assets on the backdrop of still positive macroeconomic fundamentals, downtrends in yields on debt instrument, and lower stock prices, which of course is expected to drive bargain hunting ahead of first quarter 2018 corporate releases. And that ends business news for this week. Thank you so much for watching. I wish you a profitable week ahead. I'm Anne Wilder. Back to you, Melinda.
Many thanks, Anne. And still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria's representative in the CAF Confederation Cup, Plateau United, edged past USM Algiers in the first leg of the final qualifying round, winning 2-1 at the Agege Stadium in Lagos. And that's on Sports News. Join us again.